10 years ago, a mod was released that would change Minecraft forever. Its name? The Aether mod. Hi guys, I'm Diansu. Before the show begins, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications whenever I release new content. Anyways, without further deliberation, let the show begin. The Aether is an old but still quality mod made by the now mojang developer King B Dogs that adds a whole new in-depth dimension in the skies, aptly named the Aether. So let's dive down, or more accurately, ascend up to it. Alright, so basically everyone knows how to make an Aether portal, and basically everyone has suffered the immense disappointment of realizing that the Aether portal does not work in vanilla. But to the slapfish that do not know how to create one, what you must do is create another portal-styled frame out of glowstone, and in place of a flint and steel, you must light an Aether portal with a bucket of water. This portal is your ticket to the hostile paradise. The Aether consists of one sprawling biome, forever locked in daylight, made of its own unique soil, stone, with unique set of tools of course, and trees. These trees include the Skyroot, a somewhat plain-looking tree that has an entire set of items made from it, including the Skyroot bed, the method of setting spawn in the hostile paradise. Golden oak is another variety of tree found in the Aether. It has an aura of golden particles and a bejeweled wood. However, when mined without soak touch, it will turn into the benign Skyroot. But if mined with a Gravitite axe, it will drop a golden amber, which is used in the creation of dart shooters, a new ranged weapon that shoots gravity-less darts. Found in clumps all throughout the Aether are Aerclouds. They take up 4 forms. There's the cold Aercloud, which can break any number of usually fatal falls and can be used to create parachutes made from clouds. Then there's the rarer gold Aercloud, which has all the properties of the cold Aercloud but with the added benefits of more durable parachutes. Next is the blue variety, that when walked into will vault the individual who touched it into the skies. Finally is the mysterious pink Aercloud, that gives rapid regeneration when walked into. However, I haven't been able to find this. Although, I do know you've been starting to sell cotton candy, Bob. Where are the Aerclouds?!
I don't know! I don't have it! Okay.
Look, alright, Bob, this will be a very painful question, but I brought no associate. Look over there.
Get it!
Look, alright, Bob, the chainsaw is getting closer. Answer my question. Do you have it or not?
I don't have it!
You do not have it.
I don't have it though!
Are you sure you do not in fact have the cotton candy?
Yes, I don't have it. 'Cause I don't.
Alright, gents, case closed. She doesn't have it. Quicksoil is the Aether's opposite to Soul Sand. Where Soul Sand slows down the player, Quicksoil is slick and accelerates the player's movements. This, however, can lead to many unfortunate slips into the void. Berries are a variety of fruits found in the Aether. These fruits grow from bushes. Overall, I'd say they're also lawful good as well. Ambrosium is an ore found exclusively in the Aether, and functions as a dimension's coal, and like coal can be used in the creation of its own torches. If you want to get some easy Ambrosium mid-fight, you can use a Holy Stone sword, and while that may sound completely useless, Ambrosium can actually be consumed for half a heart. Zanite is another ore found throughout the Aether. Interestingly enough, Zanite equipment becomes more powerful the lower its durability becomes, rewarding those who frequently use said equipment. Within the heights of the Aether, Gravitites will be found. This ore must be processed via altar enchanting. We'll talk about it later. Into Gravitite blocks that can be sent into the skies by a redstone charge. With these blocks, you'll be able to create Gravitite equipment. However, there's good reason to use Gravitite tools, for you see, anything affected by the corresponding tools will literally be sent up. Also, you can write Gravitized blocks. Icestone is yet another ore found within the Aether, and while it has no armor or toolset, Icestone can be used to freeze over nearby liquids, like water and lava. Growing within the soil of the Aether, Achors remain mostly peaceful, but like most plant mobs, as soon as you annoy them by existing, they'll raise hell, and in this case they'll launch quills that give the inebriation effect to the player. This effect causes the player to partially lose control of movement, occasionally take damage, and gain a purple overlay on the screen. If you slay the Aechor, it may drop its petals, or if you don't want petals, you can just destroy the block it's rooted in. Alternatively, if you happen to have a Skyroot bucket on hand, you can milk the Aechor of its toxin, and then use it to enhance dart shooters to shoot inebriation shots. Moas are a variety of giant flightless bird found all throughout the Aether. They lay eggs, which can be hatched. However, unlike chicken or turtle eggs, Moa eggs taste terrible, and must be hatched in an incubator fueled by Ambrosium torches. But before you choose what variety of Moa to hatch, be a responsible parent, and learn the abilities each Moa has. To start off, there's the blue Moa, the most common variety that has average speed and 3 mid-air jumps. Then there's the white pattern. This one is quite rare however, and has 4 jumps instead of 3. There's a black variety as well, which has a whopping 8 jumps, however they seem to be a bit slower than the rest, and they're not suitable for the faint of heart. Finally is my personal favorite, the orange Moa, which while only having 2 jumps is the fastest variety. Now once your baby Moa is attached they will be panicked, but you can calm them down with an Aechor pedal. After a while it will grow up into a robust adult Moa, a trusty mount through and through. Oh yeah, also, if you want your Moa to sit down, just use a nature staff, crafted from a Zanite piece and a Skywood stick. Just note however, they are somewhat noisy, just a little bit. Flying cattle are a common variety of wildlife in the Aether, not all too different from their overworld counterparts besides their gliding ability. The saying, when pigs fly, has been thrown out the window with the arrival of the Phygg. The Phygg, much like its wingless counterpart, is mountable. However, when mounted, it does not need any items to steer, and can also glide for long distances. Sheepuffs are a relative of sheep, and for the most part, they are mostly the same as their overworld counterparts, but they have the ability to grow obscene amounts of wool, and will occasionally jump extremely high. As a small detour from the wildlife, I'm gonna ramble on about crystal trees. These trees only spawn on small sky islands, and produce a field of blue particles around them. When their leaves decay, some of them will drop white apples, which functions as a cure to the inebriation effect. However, much like IRL apples, white apples will not make you any less hungry, and will put a strange green tint on your vision for a bit. Alright, back to mobs. While they may seem like random bursts of particles, whirlwinds can actually serve somewhat of a threat, being capable of throwing you off a cliff and back into the overworld. Yet in spite of their tornado alley terrorizing ways, whirlwinds can be a handy way of getting overworld resources in the Aether. But make sure you're not dealing with a smoky whirlwind, for you see, instead of giving you random imports from the overworld, smoky whirlwinds will indiscriminately launch creepers at high speeds. Floating through the Aether skies is the Zephyr. These are like the ghasts of the Aether, however, are most of the time merely a small annoyance, but do not be fooled. They are filled with malice for all of us. But that's an aside. Should they ever land a shot on you, expect to be thrown back a couple blocks. The Cockatrice is a hostile inhabitant of the dark corners of the Aether. Now, whatever Trice is concocted to be used as a name for this is wholly unknown to me, but what I can tell you about the Cockatrice is how it attacks. For you see, when confronted, cockatrices will strafe about similarly to skeletons, shooting darts of inebriation at the player. Swets, not to be confused with bedwar Swets, are a variety of slime found in the Aether. They're hostile, however, instead of just mobbing you, Swets will envelop their victims, before hopping around and damaging them via fall damage before disappearing. There are 2 varieties, each with their own unique set of drops. This is the blue Swet, which when defeated, will drop a blue Aercloud along with the sweat ball. These orbs of poor tasting goo can be used to create leads in the Aether, and spread grass to dirt blocks. Then there's the golden Swet, which instead drops glowstone on death, offering a ticket out of the Aether. Aerwhales are an ambient beast found in the skies of the Aether. Yeah, that's basically it. Altars are a new workstation added in by the Aether mod. Powered by Ambrosium, altars exist to easily repair and modify items. Altar products include, but are not limited to, enchanted grass, which has a higher growth speed on crops, Skyroot remedy bucket, which cures the inebriation effect, healing stones, which are described as a quote-unquote juicy rock that gives regeneration when eaten, and Quicksoil glass, which is a glass-like block with the properties of Quicksoil that produces a faint glow. Freezers are another workstation. They serve the niche purpose of freezing items, and are powered by the aforementioned Icestone. Freezer products include, but are not limited to, blue Aercloud, ice jewelry, and packed ice. Similar to how water evaporates in the nether, lava rapidly cools down in the Aether. But instead of forming obsidian, it forms Aerogel, a highly blast-resistant semi-see-through substance. As a side note, fire also does not appear in the Aether unless created by lightning. Alright, before we descend into the figurative and literal dungeon's depths, let's talk about bunnies, Aerbunnies in particular. These residents of the Aether are friendly, and if worn as a hat, grant the player several extra jumps. The Aether mod has a number of weapons in it, including the Flaming Sword, which is what it says on the tin, the Lightning Sword, which strikes lightning down on the target, and the Holy Sword, which has built-in smite. Outside of the elemental trio, there's the Vampiric Sword, which you could consider to be the group's edgy but powerful outcast, that's on attack will heal the user. For a more nether-focused player, there's the Pig Slayer, which one-shots any pig mob hit by it. And of course, the Hammer of Notch, a high-damaging weapon that can shoot out a projectile that sends all in its path flying into the skies. Some say this hammer was wielded by Notch himself, although other scholars say that Notch was actually regional name for Hatsune Miku. But that's an aside, bows were also not left out with the Phoenix Bow, a bow that shoots fiery arrows that spark with flames. Meet the Phoenix Armor Set, a fiery looking set of armor on par with Diamond. Interestingly enough, Phoenix armor takes damage in water, but when submerged for long enough, Phoenix armor will convert to Obsidian armor. Same stats but a different look. The Aether has a dungeon system, and while not rigid like Twilight Forests, I'm still going to list them off in order for the sake of brevity. So starting off with Bronze, these dungeons are found underground, and their entrances are marked by ominous tunnels. Once inside, you may encounter a sentry, a hostile defender of the dungeon. Now, while they may look weak, they should not go underestimated, being capable of exploding and vaulting you into the air. Once locked onto you, their rune will start glowing, and they will start hopping towards you. Upon death, the sentries will drop some of the carved stone that makes up the structure. Now, when you clear the room, you may feel inclined to open the chests that are in these dungeons, but be aware, there is a chance of the chests being mimics, a ravenous beast endemic to the Aether. Deep within the Bronze dungeon, the Slider will lay dormant. The Slider functions as the dungeon's boss, and must be awakened and damaged with a pickaxe. Once active, the room will become sealed, and the Slider will do what it does best, slide about the room and ram into the player, dealing decent amounts of damage. The way they move is odd, moving only in cardinal directions towards your position, meaning that in order to move to an opposite corner, it must slide twice in order to reach you. In addition, the Slider's movement will be halted in order to plow blocks out of its way, so use that information for your own good. When the Slider gets low on health, it will turn red and slide significantly faster with less delay. Once you defeat it, it will drop a bronze key, which can be used to open the loot chest in the dungeon. Located high within the skies of the Aether is the Silver Dungeon. Do not worry, I did not turn my good friend Silver into a dungeon. Within the confines of the dungeons are the Valkyries, great warriors and fighters that are thankfully neutral. They deal decent damage, deflect arrows, and can jet towards the player when knocked back. Once defeated, they will give you a victory medal before saying some tsundere stuff and then promptly disappearing. Where to? I could never know. The Valkyrie Queen leads her subordinates and is the most formidable Valkyrie in the Silver Dungeon. Unlike most bosses which rip your head off from the start, the Valkyrie Queen can actually be conversed with, and does give a bit of exposition about the Valkyries. But that's an aside. When presented with 10 victory medals, the fight will begin. However, she will allow you to have the first strike. Upon attack, she will shout out a war cry and start attacking you. For the most part, her attack pattern is like the regular Valkyries, however she does have a few tricks up her sleeve, like being able to throw out homing lightning orbs. Once you defeat her, she'll complement your abilities before handing you the silver key, used to open the dungeon's treasure chest. Found ominously hovering above the islands, the Gold Dungeon is the final dungeon of the mod. However, unlike the previous two, the Gold Dungeon only consists of a single chamber. This chamber houses the Sun Spirit, the very embodiment of the Aether's eternal daylight. When you walk up to him, the Sun Spirit will begin speaking to the player, and offering them a warning to leave. Should you not heed this warning, however, the entrance will become shut, and the Sun Spirit fights will begin. The spirits will rove about the room, bouncing against the walls and occasionally leaving behind fire. To attack, he will throw out fireballs and slow-traveling ice spheres. Both of these can be reflected back, however only the ice sphere can damage the Sun Spirit, with all other methods proving useless. However, be careful, for you see, whenever the Sun Spirit does take damage, he will summon a Sun minion to maul you with damaging melee attacks. Now, when you do defeat the Sun Spirit, he will make a final regard of feeling pain, before dropping the gold key along with a Sun Altar. You see, when the Sun Spirit dies, the Aether will be unlocked from eternal noon, and begin to go through a daylight cycle. With the Sun Altar, you'll be able to change the Aether's time at will, distorting time and possibly space. As a short break from the boss rush of earlier, I'm going to be talking about music discs, for you see, the Aether adds its own set of 4 records. First, there is Aether Tune, which is acquired by altar-enchanting almost any overworld disc. Then there's Legacy, which is acquired by enchanting Cat, and only Cat, in an altar. After that is Welcoming Skies, which is acquired by Freezing Ascending Dawn? Don't ask why freezing a music disc makes new music welcome to the hostile paradise. And finally, there is Ascending Dawn, which seems to have no documented method of acquisition. I'd assume Silver Dungeon for this one. Anyways, here's the music. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to listen. The Aether adds a new tab of accessories, which are cosmetic and or utility items. For solely cosmetic items, you have gloves, metallic rings and pendants, along with colored capes. For utility accessories, there's the gold feather, that when worn grants slow falling. The regeneration stone, that when active regenerates the user's wounds. The iron bubble, that grants extra air bubbles. The shield of repulsion, which protects the user from most projectiles, and then reflects that damage back at the attacker. And the invisibility cloak that when worn offers total invisibility. For a mix of cosmetic and utility, you can get the agility, Valkyrie, and sweat cape, which allow the ability to climb 1 block heights without jumping, slow falling, and sweat passiveness and riding respectively. Finally, there's the Zanite and ice pendant. The former grants extra mining speed, and the latter allows for the wearer to freeze water and lava they walk on. Their ring counterparts do the same thing, however aren't visible. As a side note, all previously mentioned capes also have a corresponding elytra texture. Brought to you by the Aether, the Valkyrie armor of the Silver Dungeon offers diamond grade protection, along with the benefit of giving the user temporary flight along with cool wings when worn in full. This includes gloves as well, don't leave poor gloves out of this one, but that's an aside. The Valkyrie set isn't alone however, since also in the Silver Dungeon is the Neptune armor set. This too offers diamond grade protection. However, this time the full set benefit allows for the user to move with great speed underwater, pretty handy for pre-1.13 worlds. Christmas is unavoidable, inexorable, and unescapable, and the Aether adds a somewhat peculiar item known as the present. I have no idea what they do, and they seem to most often either give you gingerbread men or bombs. However, very rarely they will drop a candy cane sword, a somewhat weak sword that when in use drops candy canes. Also, there are holiday leaves, but I have no idea how they spawn or work, so I'm just gonna burn them. There are a few items in the Aether that are mostly miscellaneous, like sentry boots, a rare bronze dungeon loot item that when worn prevents all incoming fall damage, lightning knives, which are a throwable weapon that summons lightning on impact, life shards, which give an extra heart on use that maxes out to plus 10 hearts, the Valkyrie lance, a diamond sword grade weapon with extra range, the cloud staff, which summons 2 cloud sentries capable of shooting ice balls at will, and gummy sweats, a simple food item that offers a great amount of regeneration. The show's gotta come to an end, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. Here's a cheer to over 10 years of modding, and here's a cheer to 10 more. This is your host Diansu.